Hello, West Ham Network. Today we've got a preview of the last game of the season, Leicester versus West Ham. While most of us can only think about the Conference League final, the last game has the potential to change a lot for both teams playing at the King Power Stadium. So today we are going to be chatting with Jack from the Final Whistle, who's going to be giving us an overview of everything that we need ahead of the Leicester game. So thank you very much for coming on, Jack. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Holly. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Great to have you on the show and looking forward to having a proper deep dive into everything we've got to look forward to. So, first of all, the first question, I guess, is obviously West Ham can potentially finish 12th and Leicester have got the opportunity to save themselves from relegation. And it's quite a unique situation where I think some West Ham fans are expecting Moyes to field a weakened side on purpose with all of the focus on the Conference League final. And Leicester, you're obviously going to be ready to give it everything. So I know to stay up, you need to beat West Ham. And we might be resting some of our normal starting 11, might not, depending on obviously David Moyes' press conference might be saying otherwise now. And you need Everton to either draw or lose against Bournemouth at home. So how confident are you feeling ahead of this last game of the season?
This one's a nervous one. It's not going to be an easy game. It'll be a tough game. I'm not expecting West Ham at all to be a walkover, to be fair. I'm not expecting them to make a lot of changes, as some Leicester fans might think. West Ham will want to go into the Europa Conference League final positive-minded. They won't want to lose against Leicester. I mean, we've got to go into this game battling. We've got to go and attack this game. I mean, we need to show fight and passion, and we haven't been doing that all season. We deserve to be where we are in the table. The table doesn't lie. It's been a difficult season for the Foxes, and people say we shouldn't be in this position with the team that we've got. But at the end of the day, it's not about the quality that you've got in the relegation battle. It's the fight and passion that you've got to get out of it. And I think with Leicester, we've got to give it our all. We've got to go and win the game. And West Ham won't make it easy for us to go and win the game. So obviously West Ham themselves will obviously want a result as well. So I'm expecting a tricky game from the Hammers, but yeah, we need them 3 points and hope Everton draw or lose against Bournemouth. So it's all to play for on the final day.
There really is, and it is going right down to the wire. And touching on what you just said there, actually, about obviously it's the passion and the fight that you've got. West Ham just a few weeks ago were in a very similar position with everyone saying, oh no, the team's too good to go down. But like you say, when you're not getting the performances, it doesn't really matter how good your team is. If you're not performing, that's the points that matter.
Yeah, you're never too good to go down in football, Holly.
Never too good.
Never.
So does it give you confidence that there's a chance that you might either play a weakened side or we might take off some of our better players?
Not really. I mean, if you look at Leicester this season, we've not been at it. I mean, we've picked up 8 wins out of 37 so far. So you can see how poor we have actually been this season. We've had 22 defeats. I mean, we're not confident at all going into any game, Holly, to be fair. I mean, we should have beat Leeds. Should have beat Everton. It's been if, buts and maybes with Leicester. Should have done this and should have done that. But we can never be confident with the Foxes. The players themselves have said we've done good in performances. But as a fan's perspective, you're just thinking, have you really? Have you actually done enough in the game? I mean, we've dropped points left, right and centre this season. And if Maddison potentially would have scored that penalty against Everton, we could have been out of it. But, it's been them sort of things as well that have let us down. Players not taking their chances and that. We've been too defensive at times and we've not really been scoring the goals, Holly. So, teams like West Ham would probably be licking their lips at a wounded Leicester at the weekend.
I think that might be somewhat the feeling with West Ham fans. But at the same time, I think the fans are really, really wanting us to just focus on Conference League because we're so scared of injuries and tiredness and all sorts like that. So are there any players from West Ham that you're particularly worried about facing? So I actually saw that Bowen has involvement in 5 goals in 5 league games against Leicester with 3 goals and 2 assists. But I know he's also just had twins and we might rest him because of that. So you might not have to worry. But we were chatting about Antonio before we went live, weren't we?
Yeah, man's a tank, isn't it? Let's be honest. There was a time where he scored a hat trick and holding up himself in the air. You know what I'm saying? Here, the cardboard cutout of himself. I think that was last season when that was our very first away game when you battered us. I think Perez got sent off. The likes of Ben Rama, Antonio, Bowen, Declan Rice, they're all sorts of threat. And that's something that Leicester have really got to look out for. We can't allow West Ham too much time on the ball. I mean, against Newcastle, we allowed them possession. We parked the bus kind of. And then Newcastle had chances. You could say Newcastle probably went on to probably deserve to win the game. But, West Ham, we can't allow them spaces in the box. We've got to defend at the right times, and we've got to take advantage of West Ham's weaknesses. I mean, the first half of West Ham's season wasn't great. There was calls of David Moyes out.
Shocking.
But that was when we last beat you, innit? 2-0 at the West Ham Stadium. And since the World Cup, Holly, you've gone up and we've gone down. So we've had like swap places. But it's been a mad season.
It's not fun.
No, Tate.
Horrible. And obviously, from an outsider's perspective, I never would have expected Leicester to be where you currently are. Is it as much of a shock for the fans as it is for an outsider that doesn't know as much about Leicester?
I think with the media, they don't really look at Leicester. Do you know what I mean? They don't realise what's actually going on. Brendan Rodgers' scenario, he should have gone sooner. Let's be honest. The club itself has kind of gone a bit rotten from top to bottom. We're in a massive mess. It's like we've took the finger off the button in it. We've been too relaxed with the situations. If we'd sat Rodgers before Christmas, then we potentially wouldn't have been in this situation that we are now. But we left Brendan too late after the Crystal Palace game. He ended up leaving. The players haven't been performing to the standards and the levels that they should. There's been no fight, passion and desire, even though the players claim that they have done, but the fans have seen different. We've been getting battered, Holly, game by game. And, we've been shipping goals like it's no one's business. So we deserve to be where we are, let's be honest. The table doesn't lie. And, we need a massive rebuild in the summer, to be fair. And if we do go down, then, I don't think it's going to be easy coming back up, is it?
No, and it never is as well. When you do go down, when you lose players and all the things that come with getting relegated, it's so hard and nothing is guaranteed. The Championship can be brutal as well. So it's difficult. We all saw what happened to Sunderland.
It's happened to Wolves as well. Wolves went down 2 seasons in a row. So
exactly.
Football's a mad situation, isn't it? But it is what it is.
Exactly. It's what we love it for. I feel like life would be a lot less stressful if you didn't love football, but also nowhere near as fun. Wouldn't have it any other way.
No, you won't.
Touching on what you were saying about Rodgers, so from an outsider's perspective, Rodgers seems to still have quite a good reputation. He's obviously been linked with other clubs, including West Ham in the past and Spurs kind of recently. And you won the FA Cup under him. Do you feel that most of the blame is kind of on him as to where you are with the situation, or where are most fans kind of putting the blame?
Brendan Rodgers has a 3-year shelf life in it as a manager at a club. It starts well at first. You think, what a cracking manager this is. This is exciting, and then near the end it drops off. It goes rotten, and Brendan's a man with a plan A, but not a plan B. But his plan B is basically a plan A, but better. And things was good under Brendan. We won the FA Cup, won the Community Shield. Things were good at that point. But, the football was good under prime Brendan Rodgers, Holly, to be fair. We were playing some great football. Champions League, we could have got that twice, but we bottled it, let's be honest. 2 top 5 finishes, 2 trophies, you could say is good, but the football that you're watching week in, week out, what the media are not watching, you're thinking to yourself, what is actually going on here? Because we lost to Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup. And Brendan was a man who talked about a big rebuild after that game. The players ain't good enough. And then he starts throwing the fans under the bus, the owners. And, that's when Brendan Rodgers is feeling the heat, innit? And he won't admit to that. He's a man who's good with PR. He likes to get the media on his side and not look at other perspectives. But it's never his fault, Brendan Rodgers. It's everyone else's fault, but he's the man who chooses the team and all that. And he's got to take a big part. He's got to take a big part of the blame of what's going on at Leicester at the minute. But then the board have got to take responsibility as well for letting that finger come off the button, innit, and being too relaxed about the situation. I don't feel that John Rudkin and Susan Whelan have helped the Shrewsbury Papa family too much, to be fair, because Top left it in their hands, innit, while he was in Thailand. He said to him, look after the football club for me, make sure nothing goes wrong. And then he's left it to Rudkin and Whelan, and it's gone an absolute tits up. And the players have got to take responsibility as well, Holly, to be fair. I mean, quite a lot of the players have been talking about moves here, there and everywhere. Players are out of contracts. We've let the contracts run down. It just shows how much of a crisis Leicester City are in at the minute.
Does sound like you've got a lot of work to be done to get back to the team you had a few seasons back. And
feels like a long time ago.
Yeah, I can imagine. It must feel like forever, in fact.
It does.
How do you expect the team to set up on Sunday?
See, this is it. Dean Smith can go two ways with this one, where he defends and then hopefully tries to nick something. But my perspective of the game, we've got to go out all attack. We've got to attack, defend at the right times, put pressure on West Ham, lead them into mistakes, and score goals and go and win the game. I think that's how we set up. That's how we should set up. I'm not saying that I'm not Dean Smith, so I don't know how he's going to set this game up. But for me, you've got to go out all attacking. You're running out of time, Holly, to be fair. I mean, a draw or a lose against West Ham, we're relegated. So, we've got to go out for the kill at the weekend and go for that win. But I think we'll go with Iverson in goal. I think he'll switch it to a back four this time round. Okay. With Ricardo, Castagna, Wout Fass and Harry Souttar. I won't put Johnny Evans in this game. I think we'll go a midfield four of Dewsbury Hall, Maddison, Tielemans and Harvey Barnes. And then I think we'll go where front to a Jamie Vardy and Kelechi Iheanacho. So, we've got to go out attack.
So that sounds a strong lineup, to be fair. I'm worried hearing that.
I think we need it.
Sounds like you do, to be fair. I know last time we played you obviously beat us 2-0 and both Barnes and Maddison in that game. And a lot of West Ham fans have noticed how well Harvey Barnes in particular is playing for you and keeping a very close eye on him, shall we say. He seems to have really stood out in a team that's obviously struggling. What would you say he's brought to your team or he could bring to a team?
Barnes can be inconsistent. He can be. He doesn't track back. I mean, he does bring attacking threat. Well, he can do. He scored 12 goals this season in the Premier League. Some Leicester fans would say he could do a lot more, to be fair. I mean, if he tracked back in that, he'd be perfect. But I think that's where we're leaking goals. Players are not tracking back enough on the wings, and that's well part of the defenders. It's like we're getting doubled up on. But Barnes is a good player. He is a good player, and I think he'd bring a lot to West Ham if they was to sign him. He's still got potential, Harvey Barnes. And I just feel that the injury against Arsenal, when he got injured a few seasons back, it's hit him hard, and it was a worse injury for him. And I think that's gave him a setback. I think that's what now he worries about, isn't it? If players make contact with him, he's scared of getting injured again. And I think it's kind of nervous for him. But Barnes used to be that player what could run at defenders and really threaten them and attack. But I just don't think he does that now. It's more like he'll get forward, but then look for the next pass backwards. And Barnes is, for me, £40 million, potentially, to be fair. Tottenham have been interested in him. I mean, there's been big reports of Aston Villa and West Ham this week interested in Harvey Barnes. So I think they're putting him down as £50 million, aren't they, the media? So
That's, I
But
think,
that's
what
all. That's rumours, isn't it? Again, there's no certainty to how much West Ham are actually going to bid for Harvey Barnes. But I think if we do go down, then Harvey Barnes will be out the door at Leicester. I think he will leave, and I think he'll be going to a club in the Premier League.
Yeah, and another player, obviously, James Maddison, has been really good for you guys. How do you feel he's done this year? And do you reckon you can keep him if you can stay up as well?
With Madders, John Percy came out, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and said that if Leicester go down or Leicester stay up, Maddison's going. Leicester won't want to lose both, let's be honest, Barnes and Maddison at the same time. But yeah, I think with Maddison, he offers a threat, doesn't he? He's really good technically with the ball. He can create out of nothing. When he's on his day, he's unplayable, and he can really affect a game. And I think that's something that quite a lot of teams are going to be looking at. Man U's interested, Man City, Tottenham, teams like that. And yeah, they'll get a good player in James Maddison. He's done his bit at Leicester. It might not have been his best season, to be fair, compared to last season and that. But yeah, he's still a good player, and I think he'd do well at a real top side because he's a real top player, James Maddison.
Definitely, definitely. And just in terms of what we were saying earlier about obviously what you think your strengths are and what our weaknesses might be, what do you think Leicester could do that would hurt West Ham on Sunday? What would be your recommendations for them?
Probably nothing. I mean, we've done nothing all season to threat any team, Ollie, to be fair. Just getting the ball in the box count. I mean, it's not like we've been scoring. I don't know. I don't even know how we can threaten West Ham, to be fair. Just hope West Ham don't put an 11 out and they stay in the changing room. I think that's probably the threat that we've got. Locking them in the changing room and then don't come out and we'd win the game because they'd forfeit. So that's probably the only threat we've got, Holly, to be fair. But nah, I think when we attack on our day, we're good. We've got a good squad who can attack teams and cause all sorts of problems, which you've seen last time round at the reverse fixture. I think we've got to play like that. But yeah, it's been the other way round, hasn't it, between the two clubs, like I say. And yeah, we've got to go and threaten West Ham at the weekend and hopefully exploit weaknesses. What would you say West Ham's weaknesses are, Holly? I mean, things have changed now since the first half of the season, which I thought was poor from West Ham. The second half of the season, you've done well in Europe. You got to a final. You've changed it around. David Moyes, there was rumours of him leaving at the end of the season. I mean, what's West Ham's weaknesses going into this game, do you reckon? How can Leicester actually attack West Ham?
I would say it depends a lot on which players we play because we've got some defenders that positionally aren't very good if we were to play them. So players like Johnson and Kehrer, they've messed up at times in terms of where they've been and just got caught completely off guard, and that's led to a goal. So we tend to struggle when a team comes on the break and they are just running at us because the tiniest mistakes seem to cause the biggest errors, and that's when we seem to concede. So that's what I'd be most worried about, because I know if you play Vardy, players like that do just run at you, make it really hard, and we are prone to making mistakes like that. And on the flip side, I think when we play really well is when we play 1 and 2 touch quick football. But when we were really struggling, we went into this kind of predictive, like you could see what we were going to do because we took so long and we'd pass in this big horseshoe in defence and everyone would be sat back by then and we couldn't find space and we'd lose the ball and suddenly they'd run at us and then that would be it and we'd concede a goal. So I think for us, we just need to really not switch off, because split-second mistakes where we've just let a defender go or given them a metre on us or not held the line properly have really cost us this season. So I think that's where Leicester could probably be in with a chance of capitalising, especially if we don't play our best team. I think that's where those mistakes are definitely creeping in more often.
Yep.
So yeah, that's my fears. So finally, one last question: score prediction for Sunday. What do you reckon it's going to be? Can you do it? Can you stay up?
Do you know what? I live in hope this season. We deserve to go down, let's be honest. Quite a lot of pundits and that have said that Leicester deserve to go down with 22 defeats. You can't lose 22 times in a season and expect to stay up in the position we're in. It's going to be a difficult one, Holly, to predict this one. I really hope in my heart that we can do it. But But in my head, it's like we've had so many chances before, but we've thrown them away. And, I think there's slight hope going into this one that we can go and win the game if we want to. But, is it an achievement really, Holly, to be fair, if Leicester do stay up? Because I don't feel it is, because we shouldn't be in the position where we are, but we are, because it's reality at the end of the day. It just shows don't matter what squad you've got, things like this can happen. If you're not playing great and you're losing the games. And we're through so many opportunities away this season to stay up. We could have been gone by now if we didn't pick up the points to Leeds or Everton or something like that after that Newcastle game. And I think that this one's an hard one to predict for me, Ollie. I'm nervous going into the game. My heart's racing. It will be on Sunday afternoon, but I'm going to go with my heart, Holly, in this one, and I'm going to go 2-1 to the Leicester.
Love it. Love it. You've got to back your side, haven't you? You can't be in a relegation battle one game and predicting a loss. You can't be having that. Even if in the heart you don't have any confidence, you've still got to go for the win.
That's it.
If I had to predict, I think I'd go for a 2-1 to West Ham. But I think that's only if we can perform as well as we did like against Leeds. That was
you made changes in that game as well, but you still managed to come back from 1-0 down to beat Leeds 3-1.
Absolutely. And I think we've got in that kind of squad where we've made changes, I think we've got quite a few players looking to prove points. So I know that they've got a proper battle to fight for their place as well. So definitely going to be an interesting game, I think, on Sunday. And obviously wish you luck and that you don't get relegated. But unfortunately, I also wish for 3 points.
No, I'm wishful thinking.
There we go. So there we have it. Thanks again so much, Jack, for joining us. And I'm also going to be seeing you on your channel soon as well. So if you're watching this and you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed, because we've got loads more great content on the way. So until next time, come on, you Irons.